Rob Reiner and Carol O'Connor brought entire family into millions in homes, making TV's music greatest moments. But off camera, their relationship was far from friendly. How it looked lively screen banter was real creatively driven by tension conflicts and personal disputes few knew about. In this video, we'll examine their distinctions, why did it become a music feud, never healed, and the moments made the strain obvious. Discover why Carol O'Connor absolutely hated Rob Reiner. Chemistry or conflict? All in the Family was first airing. It felt different than anything else on TV. The argument sounded real. Tension since discomfort sitcoms usually cause avoided. Michael and Archie Bunker Stivic went beyond jokes. They clashed like real-life families fight at home across America. What viewers believe they watched because it didn't seem nice or manufactured. A raw feeling, crisp, truthful. That reality became the show's best asset, the key reason viewers link at it deeply. Due to performances were persuasive, many spectators thought Rob Reiner and Carol O'Connor must have been near off-screen. Furthermore, shows with strong chemistry depend on trust and respect amongst parties. People imagined lengthy discussions, shared laughing between takes. A friendship formed over time, joint effort. The public rarely questioned this assumption. The idea that two performers might make such powerful scenes with dislike simply didn't fit the norm story people anticipated from music's successful TV. But that assumption missed an important fact. Good acting doesn't require personality. Warmth. Reiner and O'Connor were professionals who started work seriously. What viewers observed as chemistry was often disciplined, preparedness, and dedication to script. Their sequences worked because both knew the show's stakes and the need for accuracy. Because both men fought, it felt authentic, a strong faith in their characters' music, even though disagreement on how to present concepts. This is where mistakes can occur, the personal harmony acting chemistry. Audiences assume actors they must enjoy each other, miss how creative work often functions. Not performance friendship. Cooperation. Under stress. To all family members, there was cooperation, but strained. Audiences liked tension on screen remained when cameras stopped. Instead, it commonly followed actors into rehearsals and talks about play scenes. Early signs the tension was real appeared long before most spectators observed anything wrong. Table readings and rehearsals. Debates arose about tone, delivery, intent. Reiner frequent scene questions and push for political clarity. O'Connor, having years of music experience, he saw this as going beyond an acting part. These moments weren't light-hearted arguments or inventive brainstorming sessions. They were discomfort and friction which setmates may feel. Filming continued. These disagreements repeated. O'Connor became more cautious. Reiner grew insistent. Apparent sharp banter, actual people supporting screen frustration behind music. The show's authenticity cost. The same intensity that made scenes believable showed that conflict was unacting. It was grounded in performance disagreements, purpose, control. Once that line crossed, there was no simple return that due to audience chemistry liked was already powered by something deeper and greater personal. And this was just this. Since the early cracks changed swiftly into neither man could ignore. Two worldviews. One set. Rob Reiner and Carol O'Connor came. Every family member with different ideas of behaving and the show's goal. These differences weren't minor. Technical, deep, personal, and based on each man's understanding artist role. Initially, those opposed ideas made cooperation difficult before emotions joined the scene. O'Connor was veteran. He worked in it for decades. TV, cinema, and theater, and has strongly valued discipline and structure. A set was plain to him. Order. Directors directed, writers wrote, directed, and acted. That structure wasn't egocentric. This was about respect the process. O'Connor I thought actors were supposed to exactly suit the character, song, a director written and sculpted. Heavily planning, timing, and restraint. Every pause counted. Every A line had meaning. He believed no explanation was needed for good acting. Commentary. It expressed itself. For OK, acting was a craft, not music. A political tool. Not seeing his job educating the audience to think he wanted to show a character, even when that character was faulty or offensive. He believed folks observing behavior taught mehinously than from being directly proclaimed right or wrong. His Archie portrayal reflected that belief. Bunker. He wanted Archie to feel real because not overblown or simplified realities pushed spectators to face uncomfortable truths alone. Rob Reiner approached the show deliberately. Different spot. He was younger, influenced by political movements late 1960s. All in the Family for him was more than sitcom. It was platform. His view was that TV has a duty to combat damage clearly expressed concepts. In Music saw Michael Stiach as more than a character. He was an urging voice. Opposition against racism and outmoded music, unwavering thinking. Reiner thought performance should matter. One point. He wanted the message clear. Apparent, not subtle. When Archie expressed bias, Reiner thought it requires obvious correction and defeated. Anything else was a letdown, his squandered chance. Ambiguity made the show less useful. He saw necessary clarity, even if trying harder in rehearsals, questioning scene playing. These ideologies clashed. Core. Akinor valued nuance. Generated comprehension. Reiner believed clarity changed things. Akinor favored restraint. Reiner liked conflict. One needed thought from the audience. The others desired audience participation. Neither method was alone wrong. Together, they created continual tension. Shared sets meant these differences clashed regularly. There was no compromise because each man he trusted his approach. Over what started as a creative division got more difficult to manage. And when such beliefs clashed openly, the collaboration began crack in ways everyone on set could feel. Cracks before episode 1. Well before All in the Family become a national topic, tension existed behind the scenes. Conflict between Carol Akinor and Reiner moved quickly to develop throughout filming years. It started quietly and firmly before ever heard the theme. An apparent long-running feud began in the show's early days when expectations, first impressions were made are forming. A table read was one. Earliest trouble areas surfaced. These sessions were intended to be straightforward. The cast Saturday read the script together to become familiar with the beat episode. Akinor needed time to listen, tweak softly, music, and wait for writer direction or director. He read table as preparedness, not debate. Reiner, nevertheless, treated things differently. Hefton questioned boundaries and spoke up demanded tone or meaning changes. He wanted to clarify and focus the political message immediately. These interruptions annoyed him, Akinor. From his perspective, Reiner leaving his post as an actor. Akinor firmly believed he had professional bounds. Questioning music scenes before group felt disruptive. It wasn't regarding intellectual dispute. It was how and when conflicts occur expressed. Akinor witnessed this. Discipline-free behavior, more importantly, disrespect for set structure. Rehearsals did not improve music. As go through obstructed scenes, Reiner repeated it. The challenges he felt were unclear or overly soft. He questioned delivery, pace, and intent, especially when visited Archie Bunker. Akinor thought this was interference. He considered Reiner attempting to sway how to portray Archie, even though not Reiner's responsibility. To Akinor, this crossed a line. What made it harder? These moments occurred in before others. Fellow crew, music actors, and sometimes producers saw the tension. Akinor did not respond well to pin challenges. He believed managed disputes privately or legally. Reiner's candor confronting him, even if wasn't Reiner's plan. Due to these frequent contacts, first impressions grew harder. Akinor noticed Reiner was not an enthusiastic young actor, but as an outsider limits. In contrast, Reiner likely considered Akinor strict, hesitant to change. Neither man made bridge that gap with considerable effort. Instead, they parted ways to music. Early and kept them. Once those few judgments were made. Softened. All new disputes strengthened beliefs. What could modest creative tension turned into permanent division. At the time first filming began. Episode. The relationship was established strained, and filming began. Those early fissures deepened with time. Shared scenario. Archie tensions explode. Central to the conflict between Carol O'Connor and Rob Reiner, one question with no simple answer. Was Archie Bunker destined? Just wrong or supposed to be human? That disagreement shaped virtually all their arguments and made Archie more than a character. He symbolized what every man thought TV should do. Rob Reiner thought Archie should exposed and defeated in every way episode. To him, Archie's racism was risky, and the show was responsibility to clarify where it stood. Reiner emphasized morality. He wanted scenes to finish with Archie reprimanded or proven wrong a way the audience couldn't miss. Anything less was hazardous. In his view, Making Archie seem sympathetic complex may confuse or soften audience show's intended message deliver. Carroll O'Connor witnessed character differently. He believed realism empowered Archie. Archie music wasn't meant to teach covered in humor. He was expected to feel like a genuine person viewers might recognize in their lives. O'Connor wanted to humanize Archie. Flaws and all compelled people to face painful truths. If Archie was O'Connor became a one-note villain that expected the character to die impact. This discrepancy caused constant stress in rehearsals. Reiner often argued that some incidents made Archie sound too reasonable or likable. O'Connor resisted, saying real individuals are complex and consistent. He thought ambiguity was not inner feebleness. It was truth. In his mind, the audience wasn't needed told to think. They must be presented behavior and permitted to respond they own. Of O'Connor's biggest fears that Archie would become a cartoon bad guy. It worried him. Exaggeration would replace truth, that the character would stop thinking reality. Once that happened, O'Connor believed the show would lose its appeal special. He thought humor functioned best grounded even when ideas were explored uncomfortable. With these debates continued, O'Connor felt that Reiner sought control character. He noticed Reiner's persistent challenges that police Archie, tailoring him to a message rather than allowing the character naturally. O'Connor went over a lean. He thought his work was judged ideology, not performance. This war never ended. An episode strained their relationship, and the Archie conflict deepens. It got harder for either man to yield. Quiet rehearsals warfare. Conflict between Carroll not often did O'Connor and Rob Reiner argue loudly. Instead, it simmered, stayed below the surface, appearing briefly. Everyone in the room felt. This made tension management tougher, since nothing significant occurred that required immediate action. Yet, the heavy atmosphere followed crew and cast throughout rehearsal. O'Connor used quiet regularly, in authority. When he felt he refused to be insulted, yell or cause trouble. He would relax in his chair, fold his arms, disengage. Sometimes he did abandon eye contact and stare distance. Sometimes he just quit talking. These weren't strange behaviors. They deliberated signals. He proved he was unhappy, and the process had crossing line. His nonverbal resistance grew. In some, O'Connor paused mid-scene during rehearsals that refused to continue till tension comes musical direction or address changed. Not shouting. He didn't take extended speeches to explain that he let silence work. All in the room sensed it. Directors, producers, crew, etc. The actors sensed the change immediately. The result was psychological. All parties face pressure. When the lead actor disengages, room freezes. Nobody wants to be first. Somebody who increases. Noon wants sides. Start walking on eggshells. Rehearsals lose creativity. More about conflict avoidance. Even scene conversations can be straightforward. Feel risky. Tension was never totally acknowledged publicly. At first glance, set looked professional. People privately controlled music, sensed trouble. More careful conversations. Decisions took longer. Some person's music avoided entering discussions that could start another silent standoff. It was tense. Everyone recognized the environment, only rarely named. This kind of disagreement is harder to resolve than open debates. Nothing is cleared, no dramatic eruptions incidents to resolve. An alternative exists. Persistent music undercurrents slow wearing discomfort down. And as pressure increased, between work stress and personal resentment waned, conflict became personal. At somewhere on All in the Family, conflict between Carroll O'Connor and Rob Reiner abandoned scenes, lines, or character choices. What began creative conflict slowly changed, become something more intimate and tougher to fix. The change moment happened. Working relationship between the two men was past repair. O'Connor no longer separated Rob Reiner from his role, written as Michael Stike. Archie Bunker's opposite ideology. O'Connor eventually felt Reiner wasn't simply acting role. He believed Reiner carried music, a similar mentality off camera. Arguments began with tone or dialogueless professional music debates and more personal criticism. To O'Connor, it stopped feeling like Reiner was performing with him. Reiner seemed to be working against him. This resulted in music growth, feeling judged rather than worked with. O'Connor worked seriously and anticipated it. Respect from others. Reiner questioned scenes or disputed the Archie portrayal. O'Connor thought the obstacles came with a moral judgment. Instead, music hearing. Try it again, he heard. This way is wrong. Difference mattered to him. It made an uneasy atmosphere. Akinor eventually believed Reiner considered himself smart, superior. He thought Reiner approaching every subject as if he knew correct answer and expect to get others to comply. Whether this was Reiner's goal or not, that perception froze. Akinor saw it as arrogance and disrespect towards acting. He believed should shape performance experience, music not by preparation and emotional truth ideology or argument. That belief once esteem eroded when they settled in quickly. Akinor was not someone who readily overlooked slights. Every interruption, challenge, and disagreement added to expanding list in his thoughts. Could have been resolved by conversation, toughened to resent. He stopped give Reiner the chance. Every action was now translated via lens of mistrust. Creative disagreement officially become personal resentment. Sets became places where instead, communication stopped out of opening. Akinor quit using stillness and distance instead argument. Reiner pushed for clarity and conflict. Neither altered their approach, and the gap between them grew with each episode. The conflict was then no longer about family or of an Archie bunker. It was pride, limits, respect. Once those lines were violated, no easy way back. And tension grew. It affected more than two men, but everyone working nearby. Cultural confrontation begins as all family became popular. The focus shifted the on-off power balance screen. Commentators and critics commonly framed Michael St. as voice reason. Praise for his character who opposed Archie Bunker and challenged his antiquated views. Reviews frequently praised Michael moral center of the show, the person viewers were supposed to concur support. Meanwhile, Archie was music increasingly considered a cultural barrier. Several critics emphasized less character complexity, more on his representation. Archie shorthand for everything society needed to go. While this response compatible with the show's politics impact didn't show Carol S. O'Connor saw his efforts. He trusted Archie. It was music meant to reveal issues, not be ignored. Akinor closely monitored reviews and citizen reactions. He took them in deeply. As appreciation grew for Michael, became convinced of Archie's humanity being disregarded. To him, the talk around the performance became too easy. The audience wasn't asked to think anymore. They were told who was right and wrong. This left Akinor feeling powerless as nature. Archie stopped feeling like a nuanced performance realism. He felt drawn into a wider cultural myth that Akinor didn't understand or agree. Show success brought impact, but also limited how someone understood Archie. Finally, what many considered a cultural triumph O'Connor like an artistic loss, and success pressure increased. Tension behind the scenes only increased, tougher to control. The Making Meltdown. Created by Norman Lear, the family was familiar with musical personalities and passion debates. Early in the process show, he tolerated some conflict between Carol O'Connor and Rob Reiner. Lear believed in creativity. Tension can help. He thought the disputes and viewpoints may improve performance and make more genuine show. For Athos worked for a while. Its energy, their conflicts led to tension-filled, dramatic scenes compelling. But as filming continued, the stress affected production in ways that could not ignored. Slower rehearsals and scenarios needed more takes than expected. Akinor and Reiner often fought. Tone, delivery, interpretation. What had manageable creativity became an everyday issue. Other actors and staff started to see the strain. There was no friction. Beyond the characters. It was disrupting everyone's job set. The situation was critical. A famous silent moment standoff. During successive rehearsals, conflict over scene design play out. Akinor quit. He reclined and refused to move or talk. Room disappeared, totally quiet. The cameras kept rolling, but nobody responded. Acted. Crew froze, unsure what to do. Lear understood intervention was needed. Necessary. He asserted himself. Authority and reclaimed control set, reminding both performers off-role boundaries and need keep production going. Even after this intervention, Lear realized fundamental conflict would never and total resolve. The dispute between Reiner and Akinor were rooted. Personality, philosophy, and sense of creative ownership. A deeper more than one debate or rehearsal. After the show, All in the Family ended in 1979. Intense constant conflict between Carol Akinor and Rob Reiner left this world at Akinor's current work. With Reiner gone, Akinor on set changed emotionally. The tension that plagued rehearsals filming lightened. Reports from colleagues and cast members that Nakanor appeared lighter, calmer, and more comfortable without Reiner. Constant feeling challenged or judged disappeared, letting him concentrate on his craft and his own approach to character Archie Bunker. Akinor promptly began his next project, Archie Bunker's Place, where continued the famous role, but without the direct friction to find his prior workplace. On this new show, atmosphere calmer and controlled. While the cast worked hard to keep series quality, there was none of the stress beneath was so evident on all family. Akinor may live their character without constant navigation ideological clashes with Reiner. Reiner was struggling professionally in another path entirely. He established himself behind the camera. Himself as a recognized director. Movie like this is Spinal Tap and Support Me. Two men's professionals never met again. No reunions, no collaborations, and no public attempts reconciliation. At this point, Reiner mostly declined to discuss their prior disputes, not challenging Akinor's account, nor did he provide his own details account. Where Akinor was open about the conflict, Reiner's silence replaced conflict. Bibi remaining silent, he allowed feud record to remain. Akinor termed it as unresolved. Final. The show ends. Relieved Akinor an opportunity for both guys to pursue careers. Closure was not achieved. Their quiet grew. Permanent, ending a conflict that began long ago. The cameras started rolling. That quiet persisted for years. Held, leaving their feud story a frozen moment. Unresolved feud. Carroll O'Connor never mellowed at his view of Rob Reiner despite years past. Interviews late in life, he judged bluntly that I've collaborated with several musicians that couldn't stand, but Rob won. Words were final. Uncompromising. Not delivered. In rage or fiction. They were factual, reflective decades of unredeemed tension. Foreigner wasn't the problem, Akinor, different acting styles or creative disputes. It was personal issue that departed lasting impression. There was no reconciliation during life. Both men never fixed their relationship, never met privately music to discuss differences, and never agreed understanding. Even after all family and move into new distance between projects grown, their careers diverged drastically. That professional interaction was impossible. Reconciliation was never personal. Pursued. The feud persisted, unresolved. When Akinor June 2001, there was no public reconciliation. Rob Reiner responded calmly. Restrained. He acknowledged Akinor musical significance in TV history and his contribution to craft acting, but never used it a chance to soften the story. Give his account at Reiner's stillness when Akinor died consistently, with his feud handling refusing during their lives raised tensions, not rewrite history and avoid reopening wounds. Even personal tragedy, which toned down Akinor's public life, left his feelings toward Reiner unaltered. He lost his son in 1995. Hugh greatly touched him. Increasing compassion and reflection to his public image, but it didn't alter his opinion of Reiner. Where Akinor grew elsewhere, anger toward Reiner persistent, intentional, fixed. Via frozen confrontation results. It did not end dramatically or resolve peacefully. There was no conclusion. Handshake, no public reconciliation, no private talk that cleared up decades of confusion. Akinor's tale and finality defines Reiner's feud. Silence, persistence, serves as sunken instance of long-standing dispute Hollywood that remains unspoiled, unsettled until death. And even after the cameras stopped rolling, the feud remains unclear. Never truly answer. The tale of Carroll O'Connor and Rob Reiner recall that not all conflicts are clean ending. Their on-screen fights were only the tip, while personal feud behind the scenes silently shaped years of work, success, and stress. Even decades later, their silence says louder more than any interview or declaration ever could. If this story interested you, intriguing, whack it like, share, and subscribe for more Hollywood Backstage Tales. No hearing anywhere.